Alright. Yeehaw, Liv.
Yeehaw, it's me.
Yeah, hey, how you doing?
I'm doing very well.
It's good to see you again. It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks.
We got through the holidays.
Yes, we did.
I know a little bit about your holidays because I follow you and your dog on social media, and
I just followed. Actually, I don't think I followed you yet.
oh well.
I follow like 20 people.
I think your dog has more viewers than I do. But
My dog is famous.
tell our listeners how they can follow your dog if they're interested.
Okay, my dog Griffey is a wiener dog. He
Yeah.
is so cute. His instant name is Griffey Gets It.
Griffey gets it.
Yeah.
Right. So
Because like it used to be like it still is like an animal welfare account. So he'll be like
Mhm.
#Griffey Gets It. Do you?
right. But did Griffey consent to being exploited in this manner?
I don't post anything. Griffey does everything.
Really, your dog can type. or
Griffey
text.
He has like a thumb on
Oh.
his hand.
Well, that's amazing. So, joking aside, your dog was attacked, and it's serious.
Yes.
The your neighbor who was involved in the incident is entertaining. So we'll get back to that. But tell people about your wiener, Liv.
My wiener is about 2 feet.
Yeah, wow, that's impressive.
It's brown and shiny.
Huh? Interesting. Well,
Yes.
that's what they say about brown wieners.
It's 10 years old.
Yeah.
It's a he.
Right. All wieners are.
Yeah.
That'd
I
be
don't know.
weird
I
if
don't know these days.
You could have a female wiener.
No, he's a male. You can have a female, but he's
Yeah.
short-haired.
Your dog could be a they.
He-
Have you asked it?
Yeah,
Right.
he is a short-haired wiener,
Right.
and he was attacked the
Yeah.
week before Thanksgiving.
Now,
by-
before the attack, or was the attack and you're meeting this new neighbor the same incident, or was it two
Oh
incidences?
yeah, I forgot. It's all been such a blur. Yeah, I was walking down the road by myself because my husband was watching, Sunday Night Football.
You were alone with your wiener, and your
I
husband
was
was watching
alone.
the
Yeah.
football.
Well, my husband didn't even know I left the house.
Mhm.
And
He didn't know you had taken his wiener.
no, I didn't. So I actually had my wiener dog and my foxhound, Remy, who I call Baloney.
Right.
And we were just walking down the road. I just moved in this house. And my neighbor came out to like literally introduce herself to me.
So you're the new neighbor, not the neighbor.
I'm new, yeah.
The neighbor is not new.
Yeah, and I moved to this neighborhood because in my old neighborhood, we got almost attacked 7 different times. And I
Right.
was like riding my scooter home one day.
Let me get an image of that. You're riding
Okay,
your
I have
scooter.
a pink Razor
Right, that makes sense.
with a bell.
Do you ride with the wiener and the foxhound on the pink scooter?
The foxhound I ride with and I say moosh and he runs. So
Huh.
it's like kind of like a sled dog.
Use it as a horn almost.
Yeah, so I was riding my whatever. So we moved to this nice neighborhood.
Right. Very suburban.
And this lady comes out, she's like, "Oh, hi, welcome to the neighborhood." Your regular introduction.
Right. Did she bring you a pie or anything like that?
No,
Nothing?
no one brought us anything.
Okay, that's
No one.
disappointing.
Like literally, someone said to us, "I almost brought you champagne, but I didn't."
Oh,
And I was like, "Why would you tell me that? Like, just don't
Yeah.
bring it then."
I almost said thank you.
Yeah, like I was like, "Well, that's disappointing." After
Yeah.
this conversation,
Yeah.
I need that glass.
So
of
neighbor
champagne.
comes out. She says, "Welcome to the neighborhood."
Yeah, and then she's like, "Why'd you move here?" And I was like, "Because we almost died getting attacked by multiple dogs." And as I'm literally saying this,
Cue the dogs.
the dog comes out and shreds my wiener.
Oh, that happened in that very moment. So it was one meeting with the neighbor.
Yes, and
And you-
then my other dog like bit the dog on the butt, and then my other dog got bit, and that's
Right.
when I picked up the wiener dog and ran into my other neighbor's garage.
Yeah.
And then from then on, the wiener dog had 4 surgeries, and
Yeah.
luckily, like so many prayers for him.
So, listener, if you're keeping count, there were 2 dog attacks. Both your dogs got
Both
attacked.
my dogs
One
got attacked.
rescuing the other dog.
Yeah.
And what happened to you? You get bit in this
No,
transaction?
nothing happened to me. I mean, I feel like I'm the cause of it
Yeah.
because of a side hustle I did that I actually
How's that?
so I was having a rough time at my old job a little
Right,
bit here
okay.
and there.
Right.
And I was like, I'm gonna start a fun business.
Right.
It was called Voodoo.
Oh, I see. That's where this comes in. Because you gave me a voodoo candle,
I
which I was
did.
really liked, and then you told me afterwards that bad things were happening to people
So
that lit
I
those
started
candles.
making voodoo candles, like, to like ward off the bad spirits.
That was the purpose.
And then ever since then, 2 to 3 squirrels a day have died, like in front of me. Like on the street, wherever I
Really?
go, there's squirrels
You get like a
dying.
squirrel protest in front of your house? Are they bringing
I don't know.
signs?
Like I am like I guess I'm like the squirrel killer. So then I
Did you
had this like
do? I mean, did you research what you're supposed to put in these candles, or did you just wing it?
I just wing it.
Well, you can't do that.
I tend to wing most things and it works out pretty well.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you on that. But voodoo, that you don't want to conjure up demons and not know which demons you're conjuring.
I just thought it was like, kind of fun, kind of
Yeah.
cute,
All
whatever.
right. And they were cute. It
So
smelled
then,
nice. I liked it.
after what happened to Griffey,
Yeah.
I like lit a voodoo candle in my kitchen and did like a seance.
Right.
I like summoned
You
the
lit a
voodoo.
candle to get rid of the candle.
I lit the candle, and then I summoned the voodoo god, if there is one, and then I
Right.
summoned God because I'm Christian, and I was like, okay, both of you.
Yeah, fight it
I guess
out.
that's anti-Christian of me to have the voodoo god and the god,
Well, I mean, I think one of the major
right?
premises of yeah, I mean,
Literally, okay. So I
it's
summoned
one
both.
God kind of
So I
thing. It's
summoned both of the
monotheism.
gods, and
Uh,
I was like, God, protect me from the voodoo god. Voodoo
Right.
god, you need to hit the road.
In fairness, I mean, Job kind of was dealing with both of them, but they were sort of
But
exploiting him, as I
then the
recall.
squirrels are still dying in front of me. So to sum up my story, my dog
Yeah.
was attacked.
Land it.
I was, I guess, low key practicing voodoo, and who knows? So that was my winter break.
So, listener,
How's yours?
Oh, better than that. Listener, don't casually conjure up demons. Griffith. What the hell's the dog's name?
Griffey, after Ken Griffey Jr., like
Oh,
the
of
Reds
course.
player.
I see. Yeah, that was implied. So, doing okay? The dog's all right.
The dog is good.
How much have you spent on surgeries? And is it?
I could have gone to Europe like twice.
Wow, man.
I
And
have
can
a
you get?
very expensive wiener. Next time I
Yeah.
buy my next wiener, I'm getting pet insurance.
I'm gonna withhold some of my snide comments because I'm sure a lot of our listeners are dog fans, and I love dogs, but that's a lot of money,
He is
and
my child. I would die for him.
Europe is lovely, and I too would die for my wiener. But you asked about my break, was not nearly as interesting. I did some weird comedy shows. I went to a Zen Buddhist monastery in Oregon, and I installed bidets on my toilets. Which of those stories would you like to hear about?
So when you told me you were going to like a Zen voodoo,
Buddhist.
Buddhist
It's
camp,
not voodoo. Everything doesn't end in doo-doo.
I just pictured in my head someone like coming up to you and you're like in a robe,
Right.
and then they're like telling you all their deep secrets because they think you're like a monk and you're just listening, like,
Yeah.
and then you don't say anything and then you just walk away.
There is, I mean, both of those things happen to a degree. There is something to be said for saying nothing. And for a day and a half, we were in total silence, which is a challenge for me. But what's funny is, and I went to the Zen Buddhist monastery because my daughter has lived there before and she was being, I don't know, ordained or something recognizable within
That's
that.
nice that they recognize women in that community.
Yeah. That's a
Mhm.
longer story for another day. But yeah, they do. But the higher up people within the Zen Buddhist monastery are all bald.
Yeah.
And listener, if you haven't seen our video, I am bald, and so I don't know anything about it, but I kept wandering around and getting lost because I get lost in the shoebox, and people would come up and ask me for directions because
But
I'm
then if you're
bald.
quiet, they
Yeah.
think you're being a good monk.
I just
right?
smiled and did that Mr. Miyagi sort of knowing grin thing, like,
Uh-huh.
where do you think the bathroom is? And a lot of accidents on the floor, basically, is what
Yeah, I
happened.
could imagine.
Yeah.
I could imagine.
Speaking of which, you were mentioning as we were getting going that you're a nervous peer.
I
Our listeners
am,
would probably be
and
interested
I'm
to know
holding
that.
it so bad right now.
Yeah.
So
You were even saying, and this is a shout out to any potential sponsors out there, that you would, if you could wear a catheter all the time, you would do that in certain circumstances.
that is true.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It would make me a Wonder Woman.
Well, Wonder Woman, but you'd probably be in pain quite a bit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you've learned a lot about Liv today. We got a cool guest coming up today, don't we?
Very cool. He's also almost a superhero. Well, played by a superhero,
Played by a
if you
superhero.
consider the Hulk a superhero.
Oh, definitely. Well, he meets it by every
Really? He is?
definition.
Is that Marvel?
I mean, he's.
Or what is that? DC or Marvel? Aren't
I don't know. I don't care. I don't care for either. So
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
feel like I looked at you because you look like a guy that would be into Marvel.
Yeah, I know.
Or
We're guessing
DC.
Tony all wrong.
I guess I just stereotyped you.
Yeah.
Marvel or DC?
You were.
The only thing I like-
superhero profile
yeah.
right there.
I mean, you can
I
ask.
look like Thor is what I get.
Yeah. Like I just I don't know, but I
I've
don't.
been told I look like that guy in Harry Potter, Voldemort.
Yes,
Like,
facts.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, the Hulk is
Yeah.
What's that guy's name? I always forget it.
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo,
Yeah, he's the
who
actor.
plays our guest Rob a lot.
Wow. I can't wait to hear from him.
Me too.
All right, let's see what he has to say.
Yeehaw.
Yeah, indeed.
My first rodeo. My first rodeo. My first rodeo.
Who's our guest, Liv?
Our guest today is Robert Billott. He is an attorney. He used to defend large chemical companies, but then he went to defend a farmer whose cattle were dying because of DuPont chemicals. Rob has been featured in multiple mediums like the New York Times, National Geographic, the Huffington Post, Teflon Toxin series. There was a memoir written about him. He was in a There was a movie about
I
him.
know, I saw it recently.
I know, and he was played by a large star,
He
the
was
Hulk.
the Hulk. You were played by the Hulk.
Yeah, you were played by the Hulk,
That's pretty cool.
Mark Ruffalo. And Anne Hathaway, wasn't she your wife?
You can't do better than that.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. It blows my mind.
What a great guest. Good job, Liv.
Thank you. It's my first guest.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm very honored and excited to meet you. What an amazing career you have. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks for having me. Delighted to be here.
Yeah, when we were speaking about you, I was like, there's so many different topics I can talk to you about because first, you are an attorney. So you originally defended chemical plants, and then you flop sides. So I guess just kind of tell us about your first rodeo, the first time you had a case, the first time they made a movie about you. Like, open it up.
Yeah, well, I started practicing, gosh, it's been 32 years now, back in 1990 with the Taft law firm, Taft, Stettinius and Hollister in Cincinnati. And, a lot of what I was doing right when I first started off was representing a lot of big corporate clients, including a lot of big chemical companies. And for the first 8 years or so of my career, that I was really kind of learning that whole system, learning the really kind of complex structure we had in place to regulate the emission of toxic or hazardous materials into the air, into the water, into landfills, and really learning all the different federal laws, rules, regulations, state laws, international treaties, helping our clients really kind of navigate that world. And I thought I understood it pretty well after about 8 years. In fact, I was just becoming partner at the firm.
It's a big deal, right? I mean, that's what you work to reach, right?
That's right. And then my whole perception of that system changed one day when I got a call in the office from a gentleman who was telling me about cows dying on his property out in West Virginia and that I needed to help him. And that call really led me in a very different path, one that I've been on now for the last 24 years, which led to really kind of discovering what is maybe one of the biggest global contaminations we've ever dealt with in our history.
Yeah, I learned, and you tell me. I know Hollywood doesn't get it all right, and they condense a 30-year career into 2 hours. But am I right that you obviously didn't cause this to happen, but you caused me to know the fact that I have some quantity of something that starts with a P in my bloodstream. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that call from the farmer in West Virginia led us to discover that there was this completely man-made group of chemicals out there in the world. These chemicals called PFAS, per and polyfluoroalkylated substances, which is quite a mouthful, but
And a great Scrabble word for our listeners, just so you
Yeah.
know.
they are these man-made materials that have carbons attached to fluorine, and there are thousands of them. And they were invented right after World War II and have been used in countless different consumer products and different materials since then. Everything from stain-resistant waterproof clothing and carpeting, fast food wrappers and packaging, computer chips, firefighting foam, nonstick cookware, Scotch Guard, Teflon, you name it. And these chemicals have been pumped out into the world for the last 70 years. And unfortunately, not only do they not exist in nature, they were created by man. Once they get out there are a number of them that really never break down. And once they're out in the soil, in the water, or in us, they almost never leave, and that's why you hear them referred to now as forever chemicals.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there was a lot known about how toxic, bioaccumulative, biopersistent, harmful these chemicals were going back to the 1960s, 1970s. And unfortunately, that information was known by the companies making the stuff, but not shared with the rest of us. And it wasn't until we got that call from the farmer in 1998, wondering why his cows were dying, that the rest of the world started to understand that these chemicals were even out there.
That's crazy that like this farmer changed history for all of us and specifically for you because you're at a big law firm. You were doing corporate huge clients. So what was it like when you went to the boss ahead of you at the time and said, "Actually, I'm going to dump all these deep pocket clients and I think I'm just going to go after the farmer. Like we're just going to go that way." I feel like everyone at Taft, I mean, would have just probably been like, "Wait, what's Rob doing? Like this isn't what we do here."
Well, you have to keep in mind when I first got that call from the farmer, his name was Mr. Tennant out in West Virginia. We had no idea, what we were dealing with. We didn't realize that the chemicals that were in the water his cows were drinking, and that ended up being in the water of the entire surrounding community, that these chemicals were in drinking water all over the planet, or were in the blood of virtually every living creature on the planet. So when we first took on this case, we thought, this is a fairly small matter. This is one small farm in West Virginia, one family. We could get to the bottom of it pretty quickly. Had no idea the scope and scale of what we were taking on. But
And Robert, if I can, the movie sort of hints at, and I started off at a big firm in D.C. at Skadden Arps, and occasionally we took on pro bono matters or small matters that didn't result in pay, and I got the impression that maybe you even thought that you were gonna sort of help everybody out. You were gonna prove that to the farmer, not a big deal, and get them off DuPont's back, get DuPont off their back, and everything would be fine. Am I right to perceive that you were kind of hopeful that this would just be a non-event?
yeah, and in fact, I'd go into a little more detail about that in the book, Exposure, just how when I first took on this matter, first met with Mr. Tennant and his family, again, I thought we would get to the bottom of it pretty quickly. I didn't really believe that there was some big cover up going on, that we'd be able to resolve it pretty quickly. But it took me a long time to really realize that there was a cover up going on here, that information was being withheld, that it was as bad as the farmer was telling us. But that took a long time. And it took me sitting down and poring through hundreds of thousands of documents and seeing these things being said by the company themselves, by their own lawyers, by their own scientists, to eventually bring me around to realize, what we were seeing here, this was really happening.
So what did the farmer say when you told him they were going to make a movie about him?
Well, unfortunately, Mr. Tennant and his wife both passed away before the movie started in production. In fact, Mr. Tennant passed away in around 2009 or so, and his wife unfortunately passed away of cancer a couple of years later. But we were really fortunate to be able to find a way to get their story out
Mhm.
for them and their family. And it wasn't until Nathaniel Rich really kind of took this story and summarized it in a New York Times Magazine article back in 2016 that the story really kind of started to get out to the rest of the public. That's when Mark Ruffalo read that article and reached out saying, how do we bring this story out to the rest of the country and the rest of the world? This is something impacting the whole country. Why does nobody know about this? And that's
Yeah.
what led to the movie. And we were really happy to be able to get
Mhm.
the Tennant family story out.
Yeah. So I guess when Mark called, did Mark give you a call and tell you that he was gonna play you in the movie? Or I mean, that's
Yeah,
just
that's a little surreal, but yeah, I did receive a call from Mark, who was reaching out after reading that article, just really wanted to understand, was this really what was going on, and how could a story like this occur for so long in the United States in modern times, and really hadn't been picked up by most media outlets. And why was this on the cover of the New York Times Magazine and not on the front page of the New York Times? And how do we get this story more widespread? And that led to his pulling together a fantastic team at Participant Media and others to put together the idea of doing it as a feature film, which has had an incredible impact since that
Mhm.
movie has come out in 2019, where the story is finally getting out and we're seeing the laws start to change and things are finally starting to happen to protect people from these chemicals.
Yeah, I mean, I know personally, I used to not care about plastic or whatever. Like I used to eat out of it, buy it, whatnot. And after that movie, I was like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
will not buy any plastic. I won't microwave plastic. Like I made me so
yeah.
aware.
All she does is eat out now. It's the worst thing.
I
But
know.
I tell you what's interesting. I mean, I think the movie does a really good job in your book, and obviously what I've been able to learn about your story, and I know you have a team. It's not just you, but it's such a great story of the best of what lawyers should do and don't always do. It's a story of curiosity. I mean, because you were curious enough to speak to them, even though it wasn't in your financial best interest or your firm's best interest to do that. And you just continued down that path of curiosity. There's obviously, I'm old enough practicing law to remember when we went through boxes and boxes of documents, and I can't even imagine how many paper cuts you got
I don't know
going
what
through
that
this.
is.
Yeah, there's these things called paper
Yeah.
and documents and your cuticles. They just get all messed up. But I'll tell her about it after the show. But speak about that. I mean, just what made you not just curiosity, but curious. I know you've made some money, but that was not your motivation initially. What made you curious and willing to pursue this?
Well, so many things, so many unusual factors came together to in line just right for this story to come out. First was the fact that this farmer was from Parkersburg, and that was a town that my mom and her entire family had grown up in. And that's what at least encouraged me to listen and to sit down with him and understand what was happening here. Was that family connection to this town. And then, frankly, pouring through these materials and seeing what I was seeing for myself, that something this bad was happening. And, the concern being that we were really the only ones seeing this. Outside the companies themselves, the regulators apparently were unaware. The scientific community didn't know, the public didn't know. And really feeling a sense of responsibility to get this story out, because the more I read, the more convinced I was this was a massive public health threat, something that was impacting people all over the planet, and that nobody was aware of, nobody was paying attention to. um, and so it just always had sort of in the back of my mind, the voice of Mr. Tennant, the farmer, who was saying, people need to see this. Once they see these facts and they see for themselves what was happening here, they'll understand, that this needs to stop. These things need to be done differently. And it's taken a long time to get there. It's taken several decades to find the way to get this information out, but it's starting to happen.
Mhm.
People are starting to understand the scope and scale of the problem, and we're starting to do things to fix it finally. So I think the story, if anything, is also one of optimism. It shows the power of people being able to do things differently. Even though you're up against some of the biggest companies in the world, or the way the U.S. legal system is set up, the way the regulatory system and the scientific processes, just because it's always been done that way doesn't mean it has to continue to be that way.
Yeah.
That you can do things differently, and I think this is a good story to show that can happen.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it really shows that patience pays off. I mean, as an attorney, cases that last 2, 3 years are like, oh my gosh, get this off the docket. I want this off my plate. If you had this case for years and you persevered through it, and as a younger attorney, that's something I need to learn, something I need to that patience will pay off. Just if you're passionate about it, keep doing it. I mean, I work for a huge corporation and same thing, but it's your story. Just I can't. All my friends that I see like eating out of plastic, I'm like, you have to watch this movie, like, because my dad, like, he was so excited the whole time they were making this movie. He talked about it. He's like, oh my gosh, and he was like, and Rob's a cameo in it. Like now you're a movie star. Like a call from a farmer, and now you probably have Mark Ruffalo on speed dial. Like that's just amazing. And
And tell us about your cameo. I didn't know about the cameo.
yeah, he's in the movie.
I want to know who are you in the movie?
I'm a Taft partner in the background at a cocktail party scene. My wife and I are in there. My three sons are also in the movie in a church scene. So they did a great job at making sure not only did they stick to the facts and stick to the truth of the story, but also tried to incorporate as many of the real people as possible. Members of the Tennant family are in the film.
Yeah. So did you get to play? Did you get to pick like a partner? That's not there any longer that you didn't like, and you could portray him in a really negative way or anything.
No, but I actually got to wear my tuxedo that I had worn to the firm functions just like that back in the 1990s. I still had it hanging in my closet. So
Wow, so you got to really play the part.
And you fit into it.
So you probably, yeah,
That's impressive.
you probably walked on set and people were like, "There he is, that's him."
Yeah. I'm intrigued because you've been at the same firm your entire career, right? So not only did you evolve to become a lawyer that does plaintiff's work, but your firm did as well.
yeah, I'm still at Taft. I've been there. I'm in my 33rd year. Started back in 1990. I've been there the whole time. And the firm has gotten much bigger over the years, and it evolved in many ways. But I'm still litigating these cases. This is not over.
Wow.
These cases, unfortunately, as we've discovered these chemicals now in drinking water all over the country, all over the planet.
So this case isn't over yet?
Now we're representing states, we're representing water providers
Oh
all
my
over the
god.
U.S. that are dealing with the damage caused by these chemicals. So, these companies, not only DuPont, but the manufacturer of the chemicals, 3M, I mean, they're still fighting this. And unfortunately, the costs of this they're attempting to push it off to the U.S. taxpayers. So
So
we're doing what we can
you
to
can
try
never
to make
retire.
sure they don't.
You have to work forever. You can never retire. We need you. Who are you going to pass this down to?
And in fairness, Liv has a vested interest and probably a thank you if I give her the privilege of doing that because to our listeners, Liv's father is one of your law partners, and who knows, Liv, you may not have been able to go to law school if Robert hadn't had these successes in these cases. Is that a fair assumption?
That is a fair assumption. Yes.
One of my sons is starting his first year in law school right now. So
Wow. Well, if he needs any advice, I loved law school.
Did you?
I loved
You're one
law
of those
school.
people. Oh, that's
Oh
weird.
my gosh. If I could just do law school the rest of my life, I would.
You could teach.
I know I could teach, but I'm not like impressive enough to
What
teach.
did you? Robert and I can have an intervention here. What did you love about law school?
I loved that you were done at 3 o'clock and could do whatever you wanted for the rest of the day.
So it was about Zumba, pretty much. You didn't love law school. You just loved the
Yeah.
freedom to go to spinning class.
Yeah, that is true. Well, Rob, we're gonna ask you one final question.
You didn't like my Zumba reference?
No, I don't
Okay.
like Zumba. I guess I had so many questions for you, but after this, I guess my main question would be, what are your favorite products? Like, what should we be buying?
Legal services.
Like, what should I buy at the store? Pyrex. Like-
that's a great question, and it's one that really we're still struggling with because not only was the existence of the chemicals covered up for so many decades, even now, even though we know these chemicals are out there now, it's almost impossible to know which products were they used in, and which products don't have these chemicals and which companies have switched away. And as the story has finally started to come out, we are seeing a lot of big companies make announcements that they're no longer going to use them. Like some of the big fast food companies have come out to say, we're not using these in our packaging anymore.
But they're still putting fast food in fast food, right?
Right. So it's difficult. It's difficult, even if you want to avoid these, it's difficult at this point because there's just not a lot of information being.
So can you at least give us 3 brands that are your go-to?
You
Like
want you
like
want
like
you want the
I need
you want the
names.
Robert Billott
Like,
endorsement? I
can
don't
you
think that's
write
fair.
me a memorandum of who to
That's
avoid and
that's too
who to go
valuable. That
to?
he can't offer his endorsement. Can you imagine how valuable his
Okay,
endorsement would be on a
Rob, I
product?
use Pyrex. Yay or nay?
Just wink at her.
Blink
Don't.
twice.
Just
Yes.
blink twice if that's good.
What I would encourage you to do, there are some great organizations out there that have lists and have been monitoring which companies use what product, which chemicals. People like the Green Science Policy Institute out in Berkeley.
Write that down.
Green policy. Got it.
They're providing a lot of information about what types of products still have these, which companies are moving away. So information's starting to make its way out there.
Okay, that could be a side hustle for you. Start a website with the good products. Just saying.
Yeah, you could have like your little you could be smiling on it. You and Mark
I
Ruffalo
I
could.
could be a co-founder, sponsored by Mark Ruffalo and Anne Hathaway.
I like it.
Let's do it.
Well, this.
Well, this has been amazing. I feel like we could just talk to you for hours, but you got billing to do. Um,
Yeah, thanks
so
for being with us. This was amazing. We are so inspired as lawyers and as
yes,
people, and I know our listeners are gonna be so much more educated and maybe a little bit scared. But hopefully they'll go watch the movie
yeah.
Dark
Watch
Water.
the
We never
movie.
said the movie Dark
Read
Waters.
read his book. He's got your book is called what's your book's name again?
Encounter.
Exposure.
Exposure. I knew it started with an E.
Yeah, it needs to have like an addendum of the products that you like now.
Yeah. Well, that'll be in the supplement.
There's a documentary that's online as well called The Devil We Know. So
Yeah.
lots of resources out there for people who want to learn more. And thank you guys so much for the opportunity to talk to you, because this is the important part is finding ways to get this story out to as many people as we can.
That's true. And we're going to keep the story going. We're
Yeah.
going to talk it up.
Thanks for being with us. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a wonderful
you,
rest of your
folks.
night.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
My first rodeo.
My first rodeo.
My first rodeo.
Okay, that sounds
Yeah,
good.
so Rob was awesome. I mean,
That was amazing.
I've always been into like vegan products and like animal cruelty free products.
Right.
I mean,
right.
I even
Do you
have
interview the animals? How do you come to that conclusion?
I have an account for it. Like on my Griffey Gets It,
Right.
I've just been so into like clean products because so
Right.
many products have so many toxins and stuff
I
in it.
know.
But until Rob, like I never really hit on plastics, and now
Yeah.
these things are living inside of you. It's like it's just you feel gross. Like I want
Yeah.
to shake it off, but you can't. Like
Unless,
it's in
unless it
you.
makes us superhuman. Maybe I'm
It's
maybe I'm
just-
stronger because
I
of the
mean,
plastic.
yeah, like
Good for
as
my
an
joints.
he just blows my mind because as like an attorney, like I was always taught law school everywhere, go deep pockets, like,
Yeah.
and he went for the farmer.
Yeah, he went for the farmer and sued DuPont, and gosh, they beat the crap out of him for years. I don't know what you asked the right question, which is what should we eat? I think I'm going to become a truffle pig, like just go eat out of the ground
Like, what
with
do
my
we
mouth.
eat? Like, and then eating healthy is so expensive,
Yeah,
and honestly, it makes me feel sick.
eating healthy, or
Yeah, like if I
Oh.
eat a salad, I feel so sick.
oh, so you're naturally unhealthy,
Like,
but
but if
you
I
don't want to
eat
die.
like a McDouble, I feel great.
Really?
Like my body wants to be
Well, you're
trash.
young. I think that's the problem.
I don't know. Like I want to eat healthy.
Maybe you could make like healthy junk food. I mean,
But
that
really,
exists, right?
Like if I was Rob's boss,
Right.
I would be like, okay, put the law aside, write me a memo
Right.
on the good companies and the
Mhm.
bad companies. Start a store. Let's do it.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of questions. More questions than answers. Tony?
It's in the groundwater. It doesn't matter what company.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
It's in the basis products that we're using to build and make anything at this point.
Right.
There is no escape. The escape was 1979. That train has come and left the station.
Listener,
So-
that's our producer, Tony Adams. Welcome to the show, Tony Adams.
So you think no matter what water we drink, if it's Aquafina, if it's whatever, we have it, like it's just in the water.
I think they're struggling to find groundwater without microplastics in it.
I think that's what Elon Musk is trying to do. He's trying to bring us to a healthier place in outer space.
So should we all just go up to DuPont
I
and
think we should
where
make.
are they? Like Baltimore or something? Somewhere east?
They're everywhere. Make the best decisions
I
you
know
can
there
make.
there's a DuPont down here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think it's just about accountability, and that's the great story here is that he did such a good job of asking questions and not letting the foxes guard the henhouse, but they still do to some extent, don't
I
they?
mean, I can only imagine the settlement offer that the farmer got. And he probably turned it down
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean,
because wasn't it a class action? Like there was thousands of locals who came
Yeah.
in.
yeah, the movie doesn't do a perfect job of describing the litigation. I'm sure it's a bunch of pieces of litigation, and what happens in litigation like that is because everybody's facts and circumstances are a little different. Sorry for getting in the weeds here, listener, but
Yeah.
it's hard to make those class actions because everybody's facts and injuries and other exposures in their life are different. You could have cancer
Yeah.
because you smoke. You could have cancer because whatever you drink Pepsi. Sorry, Pepsi. If you want to be a sponsor, we'll withdraw this comment. But you
Pepsi over Coke. I'm just gonna say it now.
right, well, they either we're available to either of you.
Um,
But we didn't talk as much about the Hollywood stuff. I think that's really cool that Mark Ruffalo reached out to him. That guy seems to do movies that have a purpose. He did that one Spotlight about the
I don't know
Catholic priest.
anything about him.
He played the
honestly.
Hulk, which didn't have much of a public purpose, but
Yeah.
maybe anti-anger or anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it's a great movie. Spotlight, you gotta watch Spotlight. It's about the Boston Globe and their expose on the Catholic priests
I
who
wanted to ask
molested
him
children.
if they exchange Christmas cards, and I forgot.
Oh, okay. That'll be part 2 of the interview where we ask about.
Do you guys exchange Christmas cards?
Do you do Christmas cards still?
Yeah.
Really?
People wait for it.
Seems like is yours really? I didn't get one. I don't think this
Well, I
year.
didn't send them this year because my dog was
Oh, I
under the
know.
weather.
Yeah. We talked about that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that would be a distraction.
Okay, so to end this conversation,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the same question
Right.
I asked Rob.
Oh, okay. What did I think when Mark Ruffalo played me? I thought choosing somebody with hair was an odd choice, but
What is your favorite healthy product?
my favorite healthy product. I'm one of these people that can convince myself that anything tastes good if it's good for me. So what's my favorite healthy product? I'm weird. I don't mind kale. I mean, I could eat kale all day long, and
Like
I'm pretty
plain?
no, I like softed. I like it soft. I like a little massage. I like it with some oil. Yeah.
Okay, Tony, what's your favorite healthy product?
Wait, Tony, do you like a healthy product?
Yeah, I like lots of it. Hold on.
What's your favorite?
I don't. I mean, like a product that I buy, or because I don't really buy a lot of my food. I.
Like if you were on an island.
Tony's in prison. Did we mention that
If
he's on a
you-
work
if-
release program? So he pretty much gets what they give him.
If you were on an island, what healthy product would you bring?
I mean, I would bring my morning smoothie every day. If I only had to eat one.
Okay,
thing
but
for the
what's
day,
in your morning smoothie?
Yeah. So one green apple, a Granny Smith.
Why green?
I like sour apples specifically. It's just the most sour organic apple I can get.
Sour power. The power of sour. It's supposed to be good for you.
Okay.
Well, hang on, what you're about to hear. So a whole kiwi, not so sour, but has some fun to it.
Hmm
2 cups of spinach. 4 to 8 ounces of passion fruit nectar, real sour. 25 frozen blueberries, which is like a cup.
You pick out 25.
26
I mean,
too many. 24 too little.
I palmed it every day, and I counted them for a week, and that averaged out. So that's what I was.
Yeah, that's what she said. But
And then 6 pieces of pineapple, 10 ounces of water.
Watch out for that water. No, you can't
Well,
say
water.
you can't
Well,
say it's
that's
healthy
my
anymore.
own
You
ground.
put the
That's
water
my
in
own
it.
water.
You put
It's
it's
supposed
not
to be
healthy anymore. You put the
Is
water
what
in it.
You asked the question.
But now it's not healthy.
It's an amazingly
Because
detailed
now
It
answer.
may not be healthy.
He's
Yeah.
toxins in it
I
now.
know what to get next
Okay,
Christmas.
I'm
25
I'm
blueberries.
gonna win.
All right.
My favorite healthy thing is a
Yeah.
banana.
A banana. Oh, that's
I eat
interesting.
bananas every single day, probably 2 to 3 a day.
I like bananas. My girlfriend, she doesn't eat bananas. I declare bananas. She's allergic to bananas. I declare bananas out of the house. Banana smoothie ingredients.
I would clear her before I'd clear any banana out of my house.
No. Well, I do like bananas. I'll eat them at your house, but I'm afraid, like, if I kiss her and I have the banana on my lips, it might.
Anyway,
I don't know what that does. Anyway, great show. Great guest.
great show. Thanks again, Rob.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Amazing.
We'll have to follow up with him. I bet you'll have more
And
interesting stories.
I'm glad we heard about his first rodeo going from deep pockets to farmers.
Yeehaw. Thanks, Liv. Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, guys.
My first rodeo.
My first rodeo. My first
Rodeo. My first rodeo. My first rodeo. My first